Hey, this is David Goldenberg from Align Ads for Brands, and we're talking about sponsored brands today. Sponsored brands, as you know, are a very important ad type on Amazon advertising for your FBA business, and I'll share a little bit about that. So, the format has allowed us to rank for top 100 keywords on Amazon, according to Amazon's internal data about which they shared in the brand analytics report, according to what are the top search terms at any one time. And so we've been able to use sponsored brands to rank for literally some of the most competitive search terms on the whole system in Amazon USA, which is the most competitive market. And I want to help you guys to be able to do that as well and to just increase your sales and gain a lot of profitable sales from the ads themselves. So I'll mention actually recently, that's a trend that I talked about in my trends for Amazon advertising video recently, where the use of ads just for the sake of ranking is going out because it's harder and harder to rank number one because of increasing competition, which is going to be even more true tomorrow and the day after and so forth. But for a more significant reason, it's harder because Amazon is just giving less exposure to organic listings. There is more and more exposure for advertising, right? 6, 7 years ago when I started doing this stuff, sponsored brands only existed at the very top of search, and I think maybe just on the first page of search results. Then they added the ads at the bottom of search results. Then they added them on product pages. They increased the number of sponsored products in search results from being, the top 1, 2, 3 to, all 5 of the first products in the top row on desktop being sponsored product ads, and then oftentimes another full row or 2 full rows in the middle of search results, and then an additional smattering throughout the page. Plus, of course, the increase in load on product pages. It used to be just 1 row of sponsored products. Now it's multiple rows of sponsored products on pages, in addition, of course, to sponsored display and so on. So all of that makes it even more important to try to make your ads profitable without relying on organic sales to compensate, right? Just looking at the profitability based on the ACOS and not on the total ACOS, TACOS. So I want to get into asking some questions. Please ask your questions over here, and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible. The first question I want to deal with is, can you bulk upload sponsored brands on Amazon? Yes, it's possible. We used to have a tool built on some basically Excel on steroids that Microsoft built. I forget what it's called, that basically churned these out in a massive way for us. And the way that we used it was in order to have better message match between our keywords and our campaign headlines. So one of the principles that you want to keep in mind when you're creating sponsored brand campaigns is that the keyword you're targeting and the ad creative you're showing should have as much relevance one to the other as possible. So for instance, if you're selling watering cans, right, for outside, for example, so you want to show how that watering can is being used, let's say for a garden or for a front yard, whatever it might be, and not just having a picture of somebody pouring the water on some plant indoors. Likewise, your headline should feature that, right? So outdoor watering can, something like that. And so we would bulk create these with large lists of keywords and just auto insert the keyword within a broader headline, or we would just have the keyword on its own if it was a very long keyword. Now, in order to do this, you need to download the bulk operations sheet and create your basically you'll need to create a row for the campaign. You'll need to have a create row for the headline, create rows for your keywords, for your ad group. Anything else I'm missing? Campaign, ad group, ad. When I say for the ad line, I mean for the headline, I mean obviously for the whole ad creative. You don't create a custom image within that. You just refer to an existing one. So within the spreadsheet, when you download the bulk operations, what you need to do is get the brand assets, check that box so that you download it with the brand asset IDs included in the spreadsheet. And then those are basically just a string of text, letters and numbers running together. That is the unique ID basically for any given image that you've uploaded to Amazon. So if you want to use your image of a woman pouring water on her plants in the front yard, and that image is, 123 J, let's call it. So then in the field for the custom image, you put in 123J and it'll show that image with your sponsored brand. Then maybe a couple others that I'm missing, but basically that's what you need for each individual campaign. And so if you want to do this in bulk, basically you want to create a Excel macro that will take your inputs, namely your keywords, your headlines, and your bids, of course, as well as a format for the campaign name. So that takes us to a related question. How do you name sponsored brand campaigns? So what I suggest you do, and this is something most newbies get wrong, is they just go with whatever the default insert is that Amazon inserted there. And in a month or 2 months from now, they can't tell one campaign apart from the other because they're all called something like campaign 123, product 5, or, it's really not clear. You don't know what it's targeting. You don't know the match types. You don't know what the ad creative is if you're running an A/B test and so forth. So what I recommend is, at a very minimum, first of all, indicate what type of a campaign it is, what format, excuse me. So obviously these are a sponsored brand type, but the format can be either a collection, sponsored brands collection, product collection, or it can be a store spotlight, or it can be a video. And if it's a video also that splits between linking directly to the product page or linking to your brand store. So the first thing is either write C or PC for collection or product collection, depending on what you got in your account, store for store spotlight, and then SBV or video if it's that, and you can write video dash S if you're taking them to a page in your store. The next thing you want is to mention, what the theme of your keywords is. What's the root keyword and the main modifier. So for example, if it was mouse pads, right? So I might have Galaxy mouse pads to indicate, what's the design on it and what kind of keywords I'm targeting there. So I would have, nighttime sky, astrology, etc., all those kinds of keywords plus mouse pad in my campaign. So I would have, for example, night sky mouse pads, and then in many cases, I recommend to have your headline copy pasted in there so that you know at a glance, what this campaign is saying, and following the headline to indicate what the products are or the pages in your store if you're using a store spotlight, where you're taking them to. And what that does is, when you're seeing many campaigns in your web interface or in your reports, you can quickly tell, oh, you know what, this headline we used across a few campaigns, it did great. Let's do more with that benefit or that idea from that headline. And this other headline, we see it here, we see it there, and the ACOS and all of these is not good, so we won't keep repeating that. Same thing for the seeing patterns across your keywords or patterns across your products or landing pages from your store, Which ones work better, which ones work worse. This kind of campaign naming allows you to do analysis a lot faster, as well as find what you're looking for a lot faster. If you have a larger catalog, which for our purposes we'll say is over 40 products, I also recommend you just start immediately giving numbers to your campaigns, right? So starting today, you're going to have campaigns whose names begin with 001, and then the next one will be 002, and so forth. And what that does is it just allows you to find campaigns very easily in the future, especially if you change your campaign names in accordance with different changes you might be running there. And it just simplifies things a lot. You don't have to copy paste whole campaign names. You just need, the 4 numbers that are the unique ID for that campaign. And that will suffice for, probably everybody except for like Unilever or, massive brands with thousands of SKUs. So, and even for them, so you could use like, 5 or 6 numbers for your IDs for your campaigns, and that'll probably suffice. Okay, next question. How do you link Amazon sponsored brand campaigns to a store? In order to link them to a store, you just choose that within your campaign setup. You have under the format, I think right there, it shows you the choice of where you want to take them, either to a custom landing page, to a store page, or to a landing page that's just for pre-launch or launch campaigns to get basically pre-orders on your product. I don't usually recommend those because the lack of reviews means that you're going to really have a hard time selling, unless you're like Nintendo and it's your new gaming platform. You have some huge brand recognition that will allow you to pre-sell this stuff. Okay, so that's it. Then the deeper question is not just how do you link, but what do you link to? And again, think of the message match principle. If you have, let's say, different kinds of tomato sauce in your store, you've got spicy, you've got with herbs, and you've just got, really plain salt, pepper kind of thing. So when you're targeting keywords like spicy tomato sauce, hot tomato sauce, those kinds of terms, chili tomato sauce, take them to the landing page for your hot spice tomato sauces. Don't take them to the homepage, and don't take them to a general page showing your different subcategories. They're already searching for something pretty niche. Take them to your subcategory about chili. If they're looking for something more general, right, like tomato sauce, then in a case like that, maybe use a store spotlight and choose the 3 most relevant categories or subcategories to take them to. For example, savory tomato sauce, hot tomato sauce, and all tomato sauces. And that can be, where you show the savory, the hot, and whatever other flavors you've got in there. Which option should you choose between sponsored products, sponsored brands, and lock screen ads for Amazon ads? So it depends a lot on what you're trying to do and what resources you have available. Sponsored products are usually the easiest to run, but that's also why there's the most competition in there. And in most categories that I've seen, with the one exception of Amazon KDP, that's Kindle Direct Publishing, for those who don't know. With that exception, sponsored products are usually more expensive than sponsored brands. So if you have a smaller budget and you have more time, I would encourage you to work and fiddle around with sponsored brands as opposed to sponsored products. And if you have the ability to spend some time to read the reviews of top selling products in your niche, then you can also figure out what is the main reason people are buying them. And you can basically copy paste those words that indicate the benefits that people got from buying those products into your headline, and that will help you sell. The video creation process today is a lot easier than it was even just a few years ago, because you have a lot of tools, including Amazon's own tool, to create great videos for products. I would recommend something like ChatGPT to initially take your product and then show it in a room, and then, or show it in a use case, whatever. If it's outdoor, then it's outdoor, that's fine. It doesn't have to be in a room, but basically show it in use, and then use that image to then prompt Amazon's AI, because it doesn't initially come up with very good stuff based on text prompts, as opposed to ChatGPT, which can come up with pretty decent images based on text prompts. And then, but once you have a text prompt, Amazon can do things like animating static images pretty well. So for example, it might show a kid juggling a soccer ball on his foot, right? Kicking it up and down a few times, doing tricks, whatever. So that would be something you could get possibly you can get good videos from Amazon's AI in that regard. So that is something I would encourage you to look at if you're starting and you have a lower budget. If you have the more budget or you're looking to scale, then you have a lot more volume available with sponsored products because it's not just at top of search, but it also gets higher click-through rates in many cases because it looks like just organic listings. And it also gets more clicks from product pages than sponsored brands, and it's also easier to optimize that than sponsored brands. Sponsored brands only allows you to increase or decrease the bids, or only allows you, excuse me, to increase bids on top of search and the rest of search. They used to call it other placements, which include product pages. Nowadays, they're just taken away, I think, the ability to manage your bids on product pages. So at least it seems that way. And so if you're already at the point where you have a lot of volume, both from sponsored products and sponsored brands, then I would go ahead and do more with your sponsored products. There's usually more ASINs you can target if you think you've already targeted all the keywords in your niche. If not, then definitely go and target more keywords in your niche. Just bid less on them if they're less relevant, right? But who cares if you get lower click-through rates or whatever, so long as you're getting sales that are profitable, then why not? And lock screen ads, I haven't worked with myself. I don't even know if that's still available. It might just be for KDP, I think. Anyway, fine. So that's going to be today's live on Amazon sponsored brands. I hope that was helpful to you guys. If so, give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more advanced tips on sponsored brands. Cheers.